Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Shadow After Daily, where we are talking about from the world of John Wick, the Continental, which is the three epic episode event of the story of Winston, the Continental, the world. Before there was a John Wick, there was the Continental. So we're going to talk about this show. We had an opportunity of watching it early, and we are here. Leo from the Giggly Goods.
You
You are
muted, bro.
muted, my brother.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Sheesh, I wish I had a lot of enthusiasm about it, but you know what? It was decent. It was decent, but I'm excited to be talking some Continental with you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, my partner in crime, Mike Thomas. What's up, bro?
Happy to be here. Happy to talk more John Wick. I love this world. Love this universe. I can't wait to get into it.
Yep. There's a lot to talk about. Of course, this will be a spoiler-free review, as we're doing it live on the same day that the embargo lifts. So you're gonna get our somewhat of our filtered yet unalterated thoughts and ideas on this show, and we have a lot to say. I was very surprised for it to be a 3-movie event, because even though it was only 3 episodes, they treated it like the Sherlock Holmes series from BBC. They're an hour and a half each episode. So there is a lot of content, a lot of interesting new characters. Our belovable Winston, which is masterfully played by Ian McShane in the main John Wick quadrilogy, is the main character in this series, a young version of him, played by Colin Woodall. And we have a lot to say. So let's go around the table as we usually do in the Shadow After. And Leo, you said you got thoughts. How about you share your general thoughts as a whole on the series?
What's going on, Trayvon? First off, I just want to say
Whoa.
I am a huge fan of John Wick. My man Giordani, bro, he done guided us through 4 movies, and it has been an action extravaganza. It has been such a fun series to be a part of. And honestly, it sounds like we're getting another one pretty soon. They've already said they're possibly back to working on it. I know we've got the ballerina coming up, and there's interest in another John Wick. So this franchise, regardless of how this performs, is not dead. Not even close. But The Continental. So going in, I very much had tempered expectations. I was like, okay, I don't want to think it'll be at the height of John Wick. And then I sat in for a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and they showed probably about 4 clips, and 4 really good clips from the show. And I will admit that brought my adrenaline up so high that I anticipated it a lot more than I thought I would. And I'm a little disappointed, just a little. I do think Colin Woodall, just starting off with him, he's a great Winston. He's a great young Winston, especially. I think the first time you see him, he's got the mannerisms. He's got the ascot. He even sort of talks and has the same diction and delivery as Ian McShane. So I like that this younger Winston just has all of the mannerisms of what we've become used to with Ian McShane. He does it throughout the whole 3-episode run, so he doesn't necessarily ever really step outside of character. And I will say him and Charon are actually the 2 that I think they get incredibly right. I think that first, I think, of course, these 2 are like the big part of the series, and I think both actors hit the nail on the head. The actor who plays young Charon, I'm not entirely sure what his name is, but did an excellent job. Excellent follow-up of Lance Reddick, rest in peace. Yeah. Excellent job. The action in this show is awesome. I really like the action, and I like the needle drops a lot. The music is great. The action sequences, long takes. We get this gore-filled, bloody battlefield to open it up, and it just does so well with the action. I think the action is awesome. Unfortunately, I think there's not enough of it. I think in John Wick 4, it was 80-20 action story. And here you've got maybe what feels like the opposite. Not as heavy-handed with the action as I thought it was going to get, especially from seeing some of the clips. I thought I was going to get a little bit more action. So unfortunately, I think that it does miss on the amount of action. I also think there are some very intriguing side stories with characters here that just don't pay off in a well fleshed out manner. I think that they just kind of rushed to the end of these arcs at the end of episode 3. So unfortunately, while I love the action, I love the needle drops, I think it really misses on including more action and better side stories. I just got to say it. I'm sorry, Mel Gibson. We could have got somebody else, I think. I do think in the scenes that he was in, he ate. He has some scenes where I was like, okay, Mel Gibson kind of eating, but he's also another character that feels strangely barely involved. So it just was weird that there are these your biggest characters, of course, Winston, Charon, and then Cormac. They should have been involved in the story a little bit more. And I want to talk a little bit about the Continental. I feel its characterization so much in the Wick movies, how it is that safe haven at the end of 3, all these things. I mean, it has its own characterization in the movies, and I don't think they really hit that here. It just kind of felt like a random hotel. But I'll stop my blabbing. I did really like Colin Woodell, and the action, for what it's worth, is awesome. It's just not enough.
Mr. Thomas, duke it out.
Yeah, it's weird because the story beats, like, as it's starting, it's a little slow. It feels like it's a slow burn when you get through episode 1, right? And then we get this big moment at the end of it. And he's like, okay, cool. Can't wait for episode 2. And then, like Leah was saying, it kind of drags and it introduces a lot of characters. And I think for what they are, like, all of the characters are interesting. I will give them credit where I think all of the characters had the potential to do something really cool with all of them. I think there's just too many of them. Like to Leo's point, I think if we just scaled it down to Winston, Charon, and Cormac being the main focus, you could have told the same story in a tight 90 minutes even. You didn't need 2 other episodes. But we're spending so much time building the world, right? And then doing nothing with it, where it kind of just feels hollow. And like we're just biding time to the next action scene. And when we get to those action scenes, like Leah was saying, they're great, but I don't think it hits the same notes that John Wick does. Like John Wick knows, it very much is a franchise that knows what it is. Yeah, there's story, there's cool lore bits here and there, but we're here to watch Keanu Reeves kill as many people as possible in a 2-hour span, right? And the Continental's like, yeah, but what if we spent 60 minutes on dialogue and world building for characters we're never going to see again? And then you get a 15-minute action scene. And that's where it's like, I enjoyed the series, but it again, I don't think it added to the world of Wick like it wanted to. Like it feels like he wanted to build up what the Continental was, give Winston and Charon this origin story, but in the end, it all kind of falls flat a little bit. The action scenes are great, though. They did a fantastic job. The runners, like Leah was saying, the needle drops. I love the aesthetic, the 70s aesthetic that they give it. It's very nostalgic in a sense, because it is like echoing to action films, pulp dramas of old, right? But it just never comes together in the way I think they want it to. So it misses the mark just a little bit. Still a fun time, though.
So I enjoyed the big crescendo at the end, episode 3. I enjoyed the entire end game scenario, right? Of everything that occurs towards the end. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the action. I love that the action of the show did not feel far removed from its original cast or frame or world. It feels that the action belongs in the John Wick universe, right? Like, it has a lot of the elements that make John Wick the best, if not one of the best action franchises in the last 10 years. Like, it has a lot of those pieces of essence within the show, within the action set pieces. And I agree with you in a lot of the things you guys are saying in terms of the world building feels out of place, because the world building in this show, in a way, as opposed to the characters, it's really what's trying to take center stage as opposed to the actual story. and if that's why I feel that's why it feels slow. I feel like it drags, but at the same time, part of me, not saying it's perfect, but part of me kind of wants to give it a pass for the simple sake that this is the kind of book that you buy because, for example, for a book, right, is because it's a series that everybody loves, but you want to know a little bit more about the series. So you're going to look for this to get more context or more view into this world, right?
It's the
Like,
light novel to the manga.
correct. So if you're a fan, you're going to watch this and you're going to take the little bit that makes sense and enjoy it and take it home.
Yeah.
And so in that way, which again, it's kind of sad because you can see they did put a lot of work into it. It feels that way. It doesn't feel like a main entry. And for that, I kind of want to give it a little bit of a pass because the characters are great. But the idea that all the characters that were introduced are not for the sake of us following their storylines, but for the sake of you understanding that this world keeps getting bigger, or that there was something there before, prior to the characters or the worlds. Like all the worlds that we see in the movies already existed, and this is what it looked like 40 years ago, right? It's not really meant to show you anything new. It just meant to show you things from a different angle and a different perspective, right? And the idea that Winston is not someone that's always part of that universe. He just literally broke, he just made his way into the world and in connection with the high table. That makes it very interesting because because what to me, from a perspective from the movies, John Wick, it's all about him trying to get back out, and the Continental is about Winston getting in. So I find that particular parallel very interesting, which to me justifies his existence. Did they do a great job of landing? Not necessarily. Did they miss the mark entirely? Not really, because it still feels that they're adding things to the world. But if you're expecting to get as much as you get out of the John Wick films here, I can't argue the fact that you will. Now, that being said, I've had issues with the John Wick movies in a way, not necessarily big issues, but small issues. And it's that you mentioned something, Mike, that's very true and not a lie, 100% true. It's that John Wick movies or the John Wick films know what they are. We're here to watch Keanu Reeves do crazy action shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Similar to the Mission Impossible movies. You're watching them to watch Tom Cruise do crazy shit, right? That's the main goal, the main drive of these films. But part of me disagrees because the reason I watched John Wick 1, and to me, to this day, it's maybe my favorite of all of them, is because there is a drive to this character that's clearly defined in a story that's clearly defined from start to finish. And then after 2, it feels like it becomes the Fast and the Furious franchise, where we're here just to see the stunts. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to follow. We're not here to follow John Wick necessarily. He's just the one that we already know and love. So
yeah.
So it's kind of it's one of those things that if John Wick was just the one movie, it was awesome. But the series has become this other thing that, to me, the Continental kind of brings a little bit of that charm of the original John Wick back, because they're making it more. They're trying to make it more about the characters as opposed to what the movies have become, and that's kind of what I want that spinoff, the ballerina, to be as well. I want it to be more about that character as opposed of everything else. So that's kind of my take.
Leo, you
well said.
Something?
I was gonna say I kind of want the ballerina to be like 3 or 4, but no, I get where you're coming from. I do think, especially there is a black brother and sister in this that I love those 2 characters so much, and I think they've got
there's a lot of story there.
They're memorable, but there's just the execution of their stories, unfortunately, just is not good in my opinion. Like, you get to the end and their payoff just isn't great. So I think it's crazy. Like, I don't think the characters are as memorable besides those 2 and some of the younger ones. I think the characters kind of fall into a little bit of the generic pulpy 70s style, and that's cool,
Right.
but it just doesn't feel John Wick. I don't feel, when I'm watching this, I don't even feel like it's a prequel to John Wick. If you didn't even say that Colin Waddell was Winston, I would think this is a completely different show. And so I kind of, what I thought about was Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes a little, because I thought about the additional reading, because I read
that's
the
kind of the
Games
same
franchise.
thing.
I'm going
that's
through
kind of
this.
the same thing.
It's kind of the same thing a little, but I'm like, I think it might execute a little better just based on where I'm at in the book. But the Continental, you gave me 3 90-minute episodes, and I still somehow feel like there wasn't enough.
Yeah, I think for me, looking at what again, this is what I mean by the movies know what they are. Like, this show could have expanded on those characters you were saying, Leo, and like I wanted them to flesh them out. That's why it kind of sucks that I was bored some of the time, because
they chose not to.
Yeah. And it's like I'm cool with dialogue and conversations and like even the exposition we get a little bit, but at the core of this story, it's a revenge story, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just one man wants to kill another man, and that's the extent of it. Which, again, in the world of John Wick, that is what the first movie essentially is, right? John wants to get revenge on this punk who murdered his dog. I get it. Very simple. Let's go. Guns blazing. The Continental offers, like, if you want to be something greater than that, right? You probably need a story with a little bit more nuance, or give those characters something more interesting to do. Because why does it take Winston 3 hours, 3 nights, whatever we're going to call it, to kill a guy? That's essentially what it is. Like, that's what the plot of this entire show is.
Well, but then see, the way I defend that.
What's up, Isaac?
Oh, what's up, Isaac? The way that I try to defend that, is that you have 4 films, 3 more than 4, because the 4 doesn't really take place in the hotel. There's not really much hotel stuff. You take 4 films, 3 films, to establish this place as this impenetrable fortress that the higher forces of heaven will protect, or it's like this hall of justice kind of thing, right?
Right. It's like breaking into the watchtower. You can't do
it.
Right. So you need a crew. So you got to make it into this heist thing. You got to make it into this
I completely agree. Thing. But it just didn't seem like it was that hard. Like, when
it doesn't need 3 hours at that point.
Right. And that's the thing. And that's the push and pull of this show, is that I love the concept. I love the characters. I love the action. There's a lot to love in this series. That's why
love it.
That's why I'm not saying it's bad, but it's like, you're right. If we're trying to make, like, the show is called The Continental, it's not called John Wick Origins Winston Scott, So, like, I feel like
isn't the proper name The Continental from the world of John Wick?
Yes. Yep.
Which, again, it
lends itself to more action with that title, by the way.
It does. And so it's like, I like the idea of Winston taking on the Continental, right?
Yeah.
Is an insane premise. To your point, Brandon, we know what that is, what that entails. We already know what the stakes are, but I don't feel it watching this show. And that's the part that kind of hurts it.
100% fair. Their plan, but
I agree.
And it's funny because, well, I can't talk about this, but there's certain things that occur throughout the siege on the Continental that kind of try to maneuver stakes into the situation.
Yeah.
But because the stakes were not there from the beginning, you can't really try and save it. And also, sadly, this show does suffer from trying to do so many things at once.
Yeah.
Like you could have eliminated time with certain characters to prioritize on the build up to the climax, but they chose to lay so many. It's like, on one end, it's like, hey, we're going to tell the story of Winston. Awesome. And someone in the room probably said, yeah, I don't think Winston is enough of a hook. What do we need to do? Well, let's talk about this one thing that could have happened. or this other thing that could have happened to the other family. But we're not going to go deep on it. But what if we mention it and then people will get a taste of it? I mean, it worked with the movies. What if we just add a coin? Oh my God. What if this character in a mask shows up but we don't tell what it is? You know what? How about we do it again here? That's kind of, it sounds like that's what happened in the writer's room. Like,
sorry, I'm sorry to cut in. And to your point
no,
there,
go ahead.
They almost set this up, at least at the panel and subsequent promotions. It almost seemed like it was a setup to be like, okay, you're going to watch both Winston and Sharon get together and take down the Continental. And that's kind of what I got from the panel, especially. There was a clip that was shown of, I'm not going to spoil, but there was a clip that was shown from the series. And that's what it led me to believe. And you do give a little bit of backstory to Sharon a little bit more, but unfortunately, it seems to be that like that part eventually just gets left out. And so we have to get to the climax of the Continental, so much so that we abandon, or not necessarily abandon, but quickly pay off or don't pay off in an interesting way, all the other side stories that we set up. It's just kind of unfortunate. And I know I can't expect too much, but it just is not as stylish as John Wick. The action is about right there, but I don't know, the neon lace color palette isn't there. The stylish cinematography isn't there. Even in the action scenes, you get these long takes, you get these really good shots of just gruesome action.
Yeah.
But you don't get the creative cinematography that came with the John Wick franchise. Even that first one. I know the first one is kind of just like, very in the bounds and very origin, but you still get some very stylish action, some stylish scenes. I think they needed a little bit more style and to play with that color a little bit. It's just a little plain Jane, and that's never what John Wick has been. The second one's got the purple color palette. The third one's got the orange and the purple. And then the third one's got the reds and oranges and greens. And it just, unfortunately, it doesn't have that same color palette or look like the franchise. And while I do like some of these new characters, especially the two I were talking about earlier, there are some that are just not nearly as memorable as those from the Wick franchise, like Halle Berry's character. And heck, every villain we've got has been to some degree memorable, especially after that second one, because of them being goofy. But then it just fits into this world of John Wick. And I feel like the Continental, I get that it's kind of going for the supplemental content angle, but it doesn't deliver in a way that even makes it worthwhile, in my opinion, unfortunately.
So I would look at it a slightly different way. I think it is stylized, like heavily stylized. Yes. I just think the 70s aesthetic isn't great because like that they're dressing like it's the 70s, so it's a lot of fall colors, a lot of auburns and browns and grays.
Yeah, and a brown color palette, a deep green color palette.
To me, that's one of the few things they got right.
Yeah, it's for the time period for sure.
Right, and that's the one thing. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about. Like when I did the whole, my whole improvisation of the writers' room. like I have a feeling that there were certain decisions that they made that they just didn't follow through 100%. Like the style, they went 100% full head first into it, and it worked. And I think it played out in their favor. The casting, great, but then storylines, that's where they went like little here, little here, little here, as opposed to focusing on what their main story is. And if anything here doesn't supplement that story, doesn't supplement the building of the characters that we're supposed to have the audience care about, those are the kind of things we got to cut, right?
Yeah,
like and that just didn't happen.
It's attempting to tackle so much that everything feels underserved. That's how you can have 90.
It's like you're missing all the tie-ins. You don't know where the comic book tie-ins are.
Yeah,
you didn't find out you have so much stuff you have to read on the side, but then there's nothing to.
That's why you can watch 90-minute episodes, and we can talk about how draggy and how slow and how dialogue heavy it is, and still feel like we didn't accomplish anything or didn't get to know any of these characters. Like that's a weird like oxymoron of a statement of this dragged on too long, but also we didn't spend enough time developing these people. and
Right.
it's a catch-22. Unfortunately, I think you could have just trimmed it down, like that detective, like is her name JD or whatever.
Oh, KD,
KD.
get rid of
KD,
that
yeah.
character entirely. Cut her out. Listen, we're in John Wick. We're in the world of John Wick. I'm here for high tables. I'm here for the Continental.
You know, we've
setup.
never seen the
I'm
high
here
table,
for-
right? You're talking about tables we haven't
Yeah,
seen.
I
We just know
know,
they're
I
very
know.
high.
I know.
These are 11 tables.
This
I
is
know
the
about
time
the
you
high
tell us what
table.
it is, though, isn't it?
Exactly. Give us a. Well, all I'm gonna say is this is not the place to have a police story. And if you do,
Yeah.
we were talking about this before, Mike. Give
Yeah.
us that perspective of why they're not there in the main line franchise. Like, why is their presence not around? What? Why? How are these high table people running around?
Hey, I appreciate that we met who Charlie was.
Yeah,
We met Charlie, and then he disappeared I wasn't expecting him to be kind
very
of a
quickly.
dick.
Yeah.
You know,
oh,
it's
go ahead.
it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah,
Winston's brother as a character. Missed
Frankie.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Frankie's
that's a character that I don't think we've heard of Frankie in the movies from Winston. So seeing that dynamic, I thought could have been cool. It's like, okay, yeah, what does Winston's family look like?
right.
With Sharon? Like, how does that relationship kind of develop and come to fruition the way we know it, especially after seeing John Wick Chapter 4, right? And seeing how loyal he is to Winston. Like, I thought this would be a really good opportunity to like flesh out those
and
ideas.
you kind of take too long to get there too.
Right.
Like
Right.
it takes way too long. Like if this is
Way
going to be the
long.
crux of the series, it takes way too long to get to that point. For it to really take effect and make you feel like, oh wow, this was, I can feel the energy that these two characters,
I didn't expect that to be, for lack of a better phrase, like the payoff of the show. Like, I thought that would be the show, not the thing we built towards in the show. You know?
Yeah, 100%. I
So
thought the
sadly-
loyalty angle would come a lot sooner.
I mean, there was a lot of loyalty talk, but not from the character we wanted to hear from.
Well, I mean, from the main too.
I will say,
and that's the kind of thing, like the fact that we're just mentioned this makes him back to question, does this show even know what it wanted to be?
No,
I don't think so.
No. And that's the thing. And that's why, like, I feel like the story, once you get to the final night and you see what the big picture is, right? Because you never know where we're going, especially with how long the episodes are, until you're already well into it.
I wasn't expecting them to be this long either. They
Right.
felt long. That's a problem.
Right.
Yeah, and John Wick, I hate to keep comparing it, but like John Wick Chapter 4 does not feel as long as that runtime suggests.
I don't feel that near 3 hours.
Just like Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer doesn't feel like 3 hours.
Yeah. It feels like it feels a little bit like it's 3 hours. No, but
2.5.
But this show,
No,
I feel like you could have cut the runtime in half and cut cut the list, the cast in half, essentially, and it would have been fine because it has all the elements of something great. It has a story that I am interested in. It has characters that I like. It has action that's great. I disagree with Leo, but like I feel like the 70s aesthetic does work. Is it as cool as the John Wick one? No. But considering what they were going for, I get it. It's all right. So
The music was fire, though.
No,
music
the
was
music. Great.
And
music
even
was
Mel
fire.
Gibson, ignoring the fact that it's Mel Gibson, he is hamming it up. He's having a great time. You feel that chaotic energy from him. It is a good performance. I will give it that. And I do think it's kind of in line with some of the goofier Wick villains we kind of see in some of the sequels. So I think that's fine, but some of these, like, it just doesn't really amount to much in the end, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I loved Mel Gibson in this. Like, as someone that grew up with Mel Gibson, like watching films in the 90s and stuff like that, like, beyond everything outside of the series, right? Exclusively talking about what he presents here, you can tell why he was a star when he was. especially the way that he just the charisma of the role and all that stuff in the role. So I enjoyed seeing him having fun and making him the big bad like this was hilarious. That was just me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we can't deny that Mel Gibson's a talented actor. That is why he was a movie star for so long.
But we had about 100 other actors of the same age and race that could have replaced Mel Gibson, in my opinion. And
that is also 100% true.
That is true.
And what's weird is, does it feel like they were kind of like, hide him? We only get him in when we need. I felt like some of his presence, especially. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I just felt like he didn't have enough presence. I don't think that he was used enough as a villain. The pieces of him that we did get, but I don't think he had enough time.
See, I think we got enough for the type of villain that he is. Like look at it this way. He's the kind of villain that all you need is a reason to just root Winston. That's all you need. And he gave us all the reason to root for Winston.
Yeah, I just...
No matter how simplistic that may sound.
But if you're going to give me 3 1.5-hour episodes, and I think I can equate his screen time to about 30 minutes, I'm like,
fair.
I think I just needed a little bit more.
That means there was someone in the writer's room going like, it's not about the villain, it's about the journey.
Yeah. And funny enough, the journey.
I'm sorry, writers. I'm not hating at you guys. Support.
It's weird that the story gets boring along the way.
Yeah, I feel like, and I don't know if it could have been a mandate thing. Like, this didn't need to be 90-minute episodes. Like, I would have preferred 45-minute episodes, and each character got a more defined arc within those episodes, as opposed to, we've got to follow Winston as he journeys and does blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we know. I think the frustrating part to me is that we all know what this show is.
Right.
Probably a little bit more than the creatives behind it probably thought we did, right? Because if Winston's not in charge of the Continental, what do you think's going to happen when we get towards the end of this series? Like, we know where he ends up. We know where Chiron ends up, and so it's suffering from prequel syndrome, where it's like, I already know where the main characters are going to end up. That's where you kind of take this as an opportunity to get us engaged, interested, and feel the stakes with those side characters, but they don't. And so it just, I don't know. I'm trying not to ramble, but it feels like we know. It feels like we know what the show wanted to be, but the show didn't know what it wanted to be.
Sounds like the Fantastic Beasts franchise.
See, but it's funny that you say that, because you hit the nail on the head. Like, it is suffering from prequel syndrome, and also, if you're already in prequel territory, right? If you're creating that kind of, the one thing you need to understand is you need to figure out a way to make this journey entertaining,
right?
Because the baggage that the fan is coming with is your greatest adversary. It's not because people are going to come see it looking for a thrill ride or for something that's exciting or interesting, because they already know the end.
Yeah.
So how do you make that journey entertaining? And it's funny because the final episode, it's great. That's the closest thing to a John Wick film. The closest thing is the actual first 10 minutes of the series and the last 45 minutes of the series. That is the most John Wick action that we get. So
we can touch on it a little bit because they did talk about it when we were at Comic-Con, Leo. They were telling us there was this like crazy 50-minute action sequence, right? And we get that, and it's great. I love it, but also it's like, I think I would have preferred a 20-minute action sequence, and then you give me 10-minute action sequences in the other 2 episodes.
Amen. Because we should have sprinkled that through a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, Brand, that payoff is great. I think it works out in the long run. That's why, like, I'm not trying to sound overly negative. I did give this like a B- in my written review, because there is a lot that I like, but it's just a little disappointing because I always say a bad movie is always better than a mediocre movie, because like if I'm making fun of Batman and Robin, I'm having a great time. But if I'm just watching a movie where like I see the potential and you never reach it, I'm more frustrated if the movie's bad, you know?
Right. Well said.
And that's where I am with the Continental, where it's like you were so close to being something truly great and you missed. Which is still better than being awful, but like I think I would have had more fun if it was just campy, ridiculous nonsense happening most of the time.
I think you said it perfectly. The first 10 minutes and the last like 45. Yeah. Man, I was on cloud 9. I mean, those were peak moments of the show, and it just needed more of that. And I hate to get too far ahead, but I just think episode 2 entirely could just be mashed down to about 40, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because you have that sense that someone felt the need to add, as opposed to just simplifying it. You know what I mean? You know what you want to do. You know what it needs to be. Do it. Make it awesome. But it feels like the need was there to add stuff. You know what I mean? Like you needed a little bit of everything everywhere, and that's kind of what didn't work out for it.
All at once.
Without regurgitating everything, like I think what this particular show shows us is it's not easy to create content that comes out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like in a world where mostly everything we see is an adaptation of something. You know, while a lot of people don't think about the fact that John Wick, it's one of the new, it's a brand new franchise that came out of nowhere in the last 10 years.
It was an original IP. Yeah. And
it's an original IP. So I'm going to be honest. If this is the first miss, I'm okay with that. Because the fact that we got original IP, that it's been in the zeitgeist and people have loved for the last 10 years, kudos. Well done to everybody involved.
And you know what? The movie franchise, for the most part, most people like genuinely like all of the movies. There's not one that was like, well, 3 was critically panned. You're right. If this is the first miss, it's good because the rest of the franchise has been fine.
Especially in a world where they thrive in adaptations, which is kind of like why I don't care about Marvel movies anymore. Like, I don't care about Marvel movies. I don't care about superhero movies. I don't care anymore. I don't care. If it looks interesting, I'm going to go watch it. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe ended in Endgame, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't need anything else. I haven't seen anything. Leo's out.
That was a lot. Damn.
No, but that's how I feel. No, but that's how I feel. That is how I feel. But at the same time, I feel the need to applaud people that are working on to give us great original IP. And that's what this show is. You know, new series that come out of someone's imagination. They work hard to do it, and they make it work to make people bring in fresh entertainment as opposed to rehash of something that we've seen 550 times. You know, and that to me is great. That to me is cinema, damn it.
Well, let me ask you this though, like based on that statement, if you removed Winston's name, the Continental, would it feel like it's tied to John Wick?
You know what? I'm going to be honest. Not saying it's the Continental, but you've seen the hotel, and you as a fan recognizing those elements throughout and figuring it out. Like, to me, part of me now thinking about it based on your question, I would have enjoyed the show if the reveal at the end is that we're following this guy that's a main person in the John Wick universe. Like, I would have part of me would have preferred something like that.
I guess my question for Leo then is what would make something feel like John Wick? What is the essence outside of Keanu Reeves? What is the essence?
That you walk into a movie theater clean and you walk away with blood splatter and a smile.
Bingo. I don't want
that sounded way too bad.
Spoilers,
I'm sorry.
But
didn't mean to trigger it. Sorry.
I don't want
Sorry.
to dive too far into spoilers, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't have the look, it doesn't have the feel, and we don't get the lore that came with John Wick that much. We don't really get too much on. We don't get too much on it. I'm sorry, I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
So I just
The thing
don't
is,
get more lore from the John. And I know that the John Wick franchise is not a lore heavy one, but there's still some lore behind it. So I understand.
Yeah, there's the high table. There's all this other stuff going on,
and we don't get all that.
Yeah.
See, think about this though. I'm going to throw it a different perspective to see what you guys think about this. I think that this show suffers from too much lore drop and too little story. Because if you think about it, they mention a lot of things that we've never seen before. And a lot of them are MacGuffins for the entire plot.
Mm-hmm.
But the story that drives the plot is boring. So we lose interest about the lore drops.
Yeah, 100%. And those lore drops don't always tie back to the John Wick stuff.
Again, the last 45 minutes of the movie.
No. Yeah. The last 45 minutes was great. I was like, this is John Wick. We made it. We pulled up. We stopped the car. And we arrived because we're here.
Yeah.
Feels like it was just biding its time, I guess. I
also think that Winston's brother, they had an opportunity to really make that an interesting character, and he's just kind of not interesting at all. Not really memorable.
Funny. And you know what's funny? I'm not an actor. I'm just a wannabe writer. But I have a feeling that they picked a great action actor and not a great actor. You know what I mean? Like they picked him because of the great way. Like, again, apart from the fact that the guy's a freaking tank. Like Ben Robson is a freaking tank, right? But the moments that were supposed to be like gut-wrenching and emotional and interesting story-wise, I don't feel he really delivered. But everything action-heavy, like top tier. Right.
I'm pretty sure.
But then again,
I'm pretty sure that is the case because I think they said at Comic-Con like he's doing all his own stunts and like he's primarily
that's right
and doing stunt work. Like he does act. It's not like they just got a random stunt guy and say you have to act in this scene. But like I feel like that's kind of that's not his main skill and that's not what he brought to the table. This wasn't a main asset, you know. So
which is funny because Keanu brings both. Then again, he's Keanu, but like you would figure like because he's kind of like the. Now I am gonna say this. You're breathtaking. Yo. I am gonna say now, thinking back on the look. Are we supposed? Well, okay, this is not really a spoiler. It's not a spoiler, damn it. Are we supposed to be led to believe?
People at NBC believe that, but here we go.
You know what? I'm going to shut up then, because now that I'm thinking about the question, it feels like a spoiler. If you guys want us to do like a spoiler little conversation at some point on this show, let us know and we'll do it. We'll even bring Leo back and we'll talk all the things we didn't talk here. Just let us know if you want us to talk about it.
Let us know.
Just because we haven't mentioned it doesn't mean we don't want to talk about it. But if you gotta let us know you're interested.
Oh my gosh.
Damn it.
That man went. If you want to know about
it,
let us know.
Hear something. Say something.
So I think I don't know. Do you guys have anything else? I think this is a good spot to kind of end the conversation. You know, we just frightened the entire internet. So
I will say it does get, and I think we've talked about quite a few things that it gets wrong, but we've talked as much as we can right very well. I mean, it does, and I will say, okay, I'm kind of walking back a little. If you did take it off, but you showed me that action, I would say, oh, that kind of looks John Wickish. Like it kind of.
All the action is 100% John Wickish, like 110%. Maybe some of the camera. The thing is this. That's the other thing. In the last 10 years. In one way, shape. Well, here's the thing, though. You cannot argue that, especially with 4, and a little bit in 3, maybe, but especially in 4, like I don't want to say revolutionized, but the John Wick movies have really polished the way you shoot action
Yeah.
with guns, with hand to hand, in a way that's very particular. And they have
It's
found a
kung
way.
fu. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they found a way. They found a way to bring it in a little bit of diminishing returns, but not too much, to the show. Like the action is there. Like there is more John Wick action. Like I'm gonna be honest, if you were to just watch the first 10 minutes,
You
know
think
how
you're in
when
a
you
Wick
watch,
movie?
you know when you watch a film, like for example, I'm the kind of guy that would just turn on after watching Endgame 5 times in theaters. I'm the kind of guy that okay, I'm gonna
That's why
start.
you're marveled out. My gosh. You
Right,
watched Endgame 5
goodness.
times.
But then,
Mike,
hey,
now
it
hold
was a
on
cultural
now.
event, and I do
Now,
not
my
regret
man,
anything.
I cannot make fun of you. I was there 8 times, so I completely understand.
Salute. But I'm the kind of guy that nowadays I'll put Endgame on hour number 2 hours and 5 minutes in. Why? Because that's when Hulk goes, and I'm good, and I'll watch the final hour, and I'll be a happy camper. You know, if you do the same thing with this, there's a lot of good stuff here. Not enough to keep me 100% enthralled, but there's a lot of good stuff. You know what? You gave it a B minus, Mike. I think I share a B minus with you. I think that enough because you got to take all the creators into account, right? You cannot say that they didn't really work hard to make this a great show because everything else, like in reality, all we're really complaining about is the story. We're not really complaining about anything else.
You two.
Like because like you know what I mean? Like the what was that?
I said you two. That's all you complain. I don't like the style. I don't like some of the characters.
Well, you know, I don't know why, but I'm ready to see John Wick, the Rick and Morty short.
Oh boy.
That needs to happen. And yes, that would be better than the series. But that I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys have seen it. He has to pick. Leo has a Pickle Rick hat. That's the only thing I'm referring. Now, love a dub. Can't wait for that. But I think I share the B minus because the hard work is there. They really did care in what they were doing. I think the scripts needed more work. That's it.
Certainly. Mm-hmm.
And I am frozen.
Uh-oh. Well, I think in terms of a letter grade, I gotta go C. I think my final maybe C minus. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. Uh-oh. Sorry. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. That's my final verdict.
Dang.
I was just a little disappointed. I think the main core characters and the core story that you want to tell here is just not told enough, especially with the main 3. I mean, think about it. Cormac, Winston, and Sharon are like the big 3. You got your villain, you got your main character, you got your loyal sidekick. And I just feel like besides Winston, I feel like the other 2 just got pushed to the side. And I'm like,
yeah, I guess we can take a second because I don't want to end and Brand not be here. We can just take a second, talk about those characters a little bit because we had the siblings. I think they're good for what they're given. They're not given nearly enough. I like the idea of a dojo and like this world and like
they tease us beyond belief with those characters.
Beyond belief, man. I love the dojo idea so much. I agree with you. I'm like, even her. Okay, let me.
That's like an Enter the Dragon vibe.
But I like some of the things that they set up.
You think the guy in Enter the Dragon, Hakeem Abdul-Jabbar, came from that?
Maybe.
Could that have been her dad?
No, but like that. But that's my point. Like, there's something there that's really cool, and it felt like, why are you holding this back? Are you trying to make a spinoff within a spinoff? Like, what's going on here? Like, you know. And so, go ahead.
Also, I'm sorry, Hansel and Gretel was goofy looking. Goofy. I needed them wigs to be a little better than that.
Leo,
I was like, my man giving Lord Farquaad a run for his money.
I think that was.
We don't need to give Lord Farquaad a run for his money, though.
Exactly.
I just needed a little bit of a better wig than that. Little bit.
Wait.
It can still be the Bob.
See now we have to play it out. Who's going to be the gingerbread man? We have to play it out. There's no way. Do you, the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
No.
Oh man.
No.
No, but yeah,
That's your fault, Leo. You did this to
they-
yourself.
They were cool with the action stuff, but like, can you explain to me who they are or what they're doing here or what role they? And like, that's my point of, I could get behind the Farquaad twins, but like, give me something more than just
No, but that's
they
the
have
thing, though.
weird hair.
See,
Just
see,
that
that's where
vibe.
I disagree. That's where I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree entirely. Because the whole point of the John Wick world and a place like the Continental is that you have a roulette, a wheel of assassins, and because there's a different assassin in every single room with a different style, you don't know what door's going to open. It's like Cabin in the Woods, that movie by like Drew Goddard or whatever.
Yeah.
That every case has like a different monster inside of it, and until the monster comes out, you have no idea what it's going to do, how it's going to react. Very Evil Dead kind of. So I think to me that was good. That was kind of the point. I think what I made it lost is flavor. Is that why were they a big part of the entire series as opposed to just be?
Yeah.
I get, okay, correction. Story wise, I understand why. But at the same time, is you've always told us there's a different assassin in every room. Why are we dealing with the same assassins as opposed to seeing?
That's why I feel like we should have, like, if they're henchmen or something for Cormac, cool. Like,
Right.
I wanted more of them, but if
Which they're not. That's the point. They're not.
That's the
henchmen
thing.
for
Right,
Cormac.
If they were going for what you want, like what you were describing,
Yeah.
it should be a different assassin every episode. But
True.
it's not.
True. No, you're right.
Like, your idea
You're-
is interesting. It's really cool, but since that's not how they utilize them, I
Yeah.
now expect more out of them.
You
not
deserve
to
more
mention-
information because you see him more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I feel every
Fair.
cool, memorable John Wick character, we at least get some kind of snip of their information. We don't get the full backstory, but we get something. We
need to know where
Kane
the
and his
wigs come
daughter.
from.
We get,
Are they wigs?
like, give us that store where you got that wig, and we're gonna suggest something different for you. But I just think that every memorable character in John Wick, we just get something else, a
Yeah.
little detail about why that character is even involved in this story.
I
We
don't
got
know
a
why,
lot
but
of
I
new
have-
characters in 4, by the way. I mean, the Kane. We get the what's up with them with black people being dog trainers, but we get the new dude who's a dog trainer.
They got that dog in them, I guess.
I don't know what's up with that. Bill Skarsgård's character, but all of them get some kind of explanation as to why they're doing what they're doing. And Hansel and Gretel are just kind of like, oh hey, we're on speed dial. Oh wait, they're on speed dial. Okay,
I don't know why, but
All right,
I
here we
have a
are.
feeling that their attire was kind of like a wink to the Matrix for some reason.
Oh yeah, certainly. It felt that way to me. The trench coats, the
Yeah.
all black. Oh yeah,
Which
they
is-
definitely had the Matrix vibes. Which is
Sure, but this is
I
set in the
get it.
70s. Why are we referencing the Matrix?
Stop it, Mike. Stop it with your logic.
we don't want this
Sorry.
to make sense, okay?
I
Clearly,
love how
mission
we
accomplished.
I love how we spent an hour talking about a show that we didn't entirely enjoy. This was make the Shadow Rafter magical.
That's why they come here. That's why you guys subscribe.
Jeff's
Hit the like
kiss.
button.
I
Yeah.
don't know. You guys gave it a B minus. That's enjoyable. I gave it a C.
Leo is
hate
this
it.
close to saying F. Fail. F for Farquaad,
we have
baby.
we have a combined score of C plus. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we don't do
Mediocre.
combined scores, but
That's
we
that's
give it a
fair.
sour apple. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I don't know, guys. I think we said our piece. We've done our
We're good.
thing. Going back to the weird close up. If y'all want spoiler conversation, give it a couple of weeks if the show comes out. The show comes out. The first episode comes out on September 22nd. Correct?
Correct,
Yep.
Mundo.
September 22nd. If you guys wanted to have spoiler conversations, let us know, and we'll do a spoiler review at the end of the series. And we'll do a chat with you guys and talk it out. And, talk even more frustrations and things that we maybe like that we couldn't really talk about here because
Yeah.
we love NBC sending us things to watch.
Thank you,
So-
Peacock.
thank you.
No, that's a chicken.
Sorry we didn't
Um,
give it a better review.
But you get the honesty out of these cats. Okay. You guys are awesome. If you love what we do here at the Shatter After, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the like button, share with your friends. News, interesting conversations about the industry, movies, arts, all that stuff. Creator Shatter with creators of awesome shows. And of course, great movie reviews of any movie that we think of that's interesting from different nationalities, production companies around the world, because for some reason you guys love everything from everywhere, just like we do. So stay tuned for more awesome stuff here on the Shatter After and the Shatter After Daily every Monday, Wednesday, Mr. Mike.
Correct, except for today, because you got this episode.
And if you want to listen to us blabber about awesome anime content, go check us out on the Amateur Otaku Podcast, where we're joined and talking awesome stuff. Tomorrow, we'll have a live stream where we're going to give our final take on One Piece live action. I can't wait to talk about this show even more. And I hope to see you there. You guys are awesome. Have it awesome. Keep watching movies, y'all. Peace. Close up.
Close up. Leo, sign yourself out. Where can they find you?
Oh.
What can you do?
I forgot that I
thought you
existed
hit
with other
in.
people. I apologize.
I had not hit in, mainly because the button's not working, but we did forget to
I
toss
appreciate
it.
you, though. I appreciate you tossing it. Guys, you can find me down here at Geekly Goods on any social media platform, baby. Guys, the wheels are turning still. We got a couple pieces around the corner, so come on over to the channel on YouTube. And if you're on any other social media platform, you can find me at Geekly Goods. Guys, thanks for having me. And if you do the spoiler review, I'm going to be back.
He'll be back.
I'll be back, as Arnold would say.
And Mike will just be here, just judging all of our actions.
Mike,
body.
what's this in button doing?